I thought it would be a good idea if we go over the process of designing a block. So some of these blocks I'm designing myself, and it's a process, and I want to show you what that process looks like. So this one, as you can see, is purple because I always do trial blocks before I do the block that you see. So I'm going for a prairie crocus kind of look, because here in Manitoba at this time of year, the crocuses start coming up. So here we go with the purple block. Even though these aren't our colors, I thought, okay, I'm going to try with a smaller center. And because I was in the process of putting it together, this is actually my second attempt. I had cut things wrong, so I just went with the overall look to see the effect. So normally I would have done these two the same color, which would have been the light purple, then these two, and the effect would have been more dramatic because we wouldn't have this eyesore right here. But in a way it's good because I learned, oh, this is an eyesore. I do not like this. My measurements were good. I learned that these are opposite images. So one is going to fold right and one is going to fold left in the process. So that was another thing that I learned. I learned these little green pieces were, the green was too big and the white was too small. So then I thought, okay, let's see, because these are opposites, if paper piecing works. So I came up with a paper piecing plan. And part of the problem with paper piecing is I am limited with size. I can only go to 8.5 by 11. So then I came up with this really sweet pattern, which has its own little problems and other little pieces. So it worked out really, really well. I'm really pleased with the effect. These solid pinks look great. I love the style of the leaf. I went and worked really hard at having my design match up on my directional pieces. This one, I just wanted to see the effect of what it looks like when you don't necessarily line your pieces up. It's sweet. I like it. I think I would let that go. But the thing I learned with this block was, oh my goodness, this paper piecing alone took me about 3 hours, and I'm experienced. I paper piece frequently. So I'm thinking this isn't a good block to use for beginners. So then I thought, okay, this looked really nice. What if I take this and I scale this up to 12.5 inches, which is the normal block, which is what I was originally intending. So then we go to this block, and while it looks really sweet and dramatic with this, because there's different visual effects all over the place, it works. But as a whole, on a block like this, it's not working at all. It's just too blendy. It's just very monochromatic, and it does not do a lot for effect. So we've got the red here. I didn't want to do the directional because, once again, the directional is a little harder to work with, and I'm trying to keep this block at a beginner level, so I don't want to make it too difficult. So then I thought, okay, let's highlight it with the reds. So we'll take these boring pinks out, and as you can see, it's not fully placed together, and it will be for the video. So that looks really sweet. So this is the end product of, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the end piece of 5 blocks. It took me 5 blocks to get to the design and the coloring that I like. And I can see, haha, this one is done incorrectly because it's supposed to be this one, haha. And there we go. This will be put together, and this will be the block for not May, but for June. So that pattern will come out middle of June of this year, 2021. but I thought you just might like what the process of designing a block looks like, and to let you know that we as designers or people who like being creative, because I don't think I'm a real designer. I do like what I design, and that makes me happy, and that's really all that matters. So yeah, that's the process. So it takes a lot of practice and it takes many mistakes. And I just want to put that out there so that you do understand we don't have to be perfect the first time. We should really be a lot more forgiving of ourselves for our mistakes and our learning process. I don't think we're kind enough to ourselves as I think we could be more kinder. But anyway, that's just designing of a block. This is our May block. It's chrysanthemum. And in this one, I've decided to go ahead and instead of using squares and triangles and different shapes and sewing those together, we're doing this using templates. These are the templates we've got them here. And no, they don't look like it, but when you watch the video, you'll understand the whole process, because you actually take the fabric and you fold it in half this way. So, and then open it up, and that's how you get your sweet little point here. So these are the templates. And I thought before we go and sew the block, let's have a little discussion about templates, because there's different types of template material that you're going to use for different reasons. They don't necessarily have to be perfect. And some of them are more costly than others. So I thought, let's just go over and see what we can use for template. Now for this one, you're going to be tracing it 8 times. So we have 2 for each quarter section. So we've got 8 pieces. I have them done in what's called the Ironable Mylar, which means you can take it and say this was your piece. You could take your fabric and you could fold it over like this and then iron it, and like this, and once again iron it, so that you end up with your whole piece ironed and fixed in that shape. Now the reason I used this particular template plastic was because this was what I had available in the amount and sizes I needed. They ended up being larger than what I needed because I was designing. I was designing both the block and I was designing the template, and it's a process. As you saw before, you know, the first time around doesn't always work. You have to work with it because, yeah, these guys just ended up being too long. So that was what I chose just to use because it was convenient, but it doesn't have to be. In all honesty, this on a cardboard would work just as well. And of course, I had a cardboard box, just from a cereal box, lying around to show you that that would be good enough. If you don't have any of this lying around and handy, just take your template that I post, glue it on very lightly with a light amount of glue, glue it onto that cardboard, cut it out at that shape, and go ahead and make your 8 little petals of each color. Yeah, so feel free to go ahead. This is just thick cardstock paper. This is a quilting design motif that I wanted to incorporate into a quilt, and I wanted to see how that was going. So I just designed a leaf or 2 and went ahead and cut those out, and then I would just take my marking pen and go ahead and mark. And for marking your quilt, for where you're going to quilt, paper is good enough. It does not have to be fancy. You know, there's the design, there's the without the design with just the quilting. Those work really well. I don't always use those though. Once in a while here. This one's a little harder to see. So I've gone ahead and, you know, done the same effect with this. And I have used this. I've gone ahead and I've quilted this. It actually looks really, really sweet quilted up, and I'm happy with it, but I didn't necessarily need to use this. Most likely, because this is a lot harder to cut out than the cardboard or cereal box cardboard or the cardstock paper. I would actually recommend the cardstock paper because for those of you who don't know, I have really bad wrists and they're quickly being worn out. So I tend to choose things that are going to be gentler on my wrists. So I do preventative pain. So I would recommend that for, you know, quilting templates. This more for if you're appliquing pieces, and it doesn't have to be this. Cardboard is perfectly fine. If you want to keep your budget low, go for cardboard. Couldn't find the template I was looking for, and the whole, all my English paper piecing. So I've decided, you know what, I'm gonna go to my favorite little template, which is my little flowers here. So this is Pickle Blooms. I forget who designed it, but as you can see, this is one of my favorite patterns. It's very forgiving. It's fun. You can make it as colorful or as calm as you need it. As colorful, as calm as you need it to be. I like it colorful. These are my bags. They're in the process. So that's what they look like, and these are just going to be little bags for me, and this one will be for my daughter. So I've got them in this is the Ironable Mylar. I thought I'm going to try ironing it because I do make a lot of them. And there we go. So it's in an ironable one. It's in just a regular plastic template. And then I went, and you can buy the acrylic. I went and I bought the acrylic and actually traced the pattern out and cut it with whatever saw you need to cut it with out in the garage, because I have one that's a woodworker, so I've got access to this kind of stuff. But just because I've gone and done this, and this is for cutting purposes, so I don't have to cut with my hand, I just go with my rotary cutter, you know, and cut with my rotary cutter. So that's why I've gone and I've done it with this. It's quick, it's easy, it's fast. You can cut multiple petals out at a time. This one, you know, more if you're going to do a hand applique, but this one, it's got the Rickrack Applique, which I can do a video on. It's one of my really favorite methods. It's a really sweet pattern. So yeah, this is a go-to pattern for a lot of creativity and fun and focal point. So that's what I've gone and done. So those are those types of templates for something you're going to use a lot and over and over and over and over again, which is what I will be doing with these ones. This is just plain old simple template paper. I was designing, this is the piece. I was going for the heart there, and I thought, okay, well, what is it gonna look like if I take that down 1/4 of an inch? So I took it down 1/4 of an inch. I didn't like the effect that was creating, so I decided not to quilt it that way, but it's still good template plastic, and I'm just gonna go ahead and use that. Once again, here is for quilting. That's just an old duotang folder, and I've marked my design, and then I do my points. And as I'm quilting along, I just have to hit those points. I don't even have to mark the lines here. I just have to drive and hit those points. So I know I'm going to this point, this point, this point, this point, this point, and then when I come back, I hit this point, this point, this one, and then this one. And it's a continuous sew for free motion quilting. Here I have some simple paper templates. This is for designing, both of them, because you don't want to, if you're just designing something once, you don't want to put a lot of investment into that. So I've just used paper. This was for a quilt challenge. This is a thought for our block of the month. Haven't decided yet, but you know, paper's nice because you can fold it in half, you can get your angles, you can get your symmetry. Well, that's why I've gone and done that, because I'm looking for a certain effect. So I guess we'll be seeing as to whether or not I'm going to use these in our quilts. Another type of, you can purchase templates. I've gone and I've purchased these. These are about anywhere from $20 to $30 per template. They're creative grids. I've said it before. I don't know if I've said it before, but I do like to use the same manufacturer of templates, because I do find there is a difference. People say no, and apparently there's not a difference in the actual sizing. It's a difference in the marking, the lines that we mark. So depending on where we use the edge of our fabric on our line, you know, as such, it's a thinner line. So, you know, even though you're out like 1/32 of an inch, when you multiply that by 22 or 30, it ends up being a lot more, and your whole quilt ends up being askew. And it does matter if it's a patterned border you're putting on, because your border's going to be out. So with your rulers, you're getting the consistent line width. It's just consistency. It makes for easier piecing together in the end. So that's why I stick to it. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying that's why I'm going with it. So you can purchase these. You don't have to. I've purchased them because I design a lot. So instead of constantly doing the math over and over and over again, I know these are 3 points to a quarter. Where's my block? I've gone and I've moved my block. Here we go. So these are 2 to a quarter of a block. This is a 3. And this is the template that I went and I used to create, I believe it is this template, because this is actually what it is. So a 22-degree triangle. Nope, it's not. It's this one. So this is, I don't know which one this is, but this is the one I've used for the fold over. This is the same one, but I'm not sure. So see, even I don't know. So 22 inches, that might be for, I'm thinking, I'm not good at this, 16 petals. Haha, it says right there, 16 petals. This one goes and it says for 24 petals. So this is an 8 petal, then we've gone and doubled to a 16, and then we've gone up to a 24. And this one, now that I look at it, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So I might not have even used this. I might have even gone and used the design to come up with this. I'm not too sure. I'm sorry, that was like 4 months ago. My memory's not good. I have too much going on in my life to remember things, but you can purchase these. They are nice because, like, once again, they're the acrylic templates. So they're just the go ahead and cut. Even though I can use these to design. So just an overview of templates. We are going to start with the types of templates. We'll just go over the types of templates they are. So there are our tracing or our applique templates. This is something that can be either cardboard. I've got the Mylar, doesn't need to be, but this is something that you're just going to trace around. So it doesn't need to be something incredibly durable. The next one that I have around is our quilting templates. So we're just marking in here. You can have these purchased. This is a purchased one. So I can just go ahead and trace in those lines. They don't have to be. Knock everything on the floor. They could also be just homemade. Here's another quilting one. I'm going to quilt along my Celtic knots here. That's just, once again, made out of duotang paper. They can be, like I said, they can be the plastic templates, or they can be just homemade acrylic ones, or even if you're inclined, you can use pre-made templates. So this is a scrapbooking template, and just I can make the waves. I can do these little sweet lacy things. So these give me ideas as well. Also for snowflakes, if you want to do a little whimsical deer, these are just dollar store templates for, you know, I just use them for inspiration. They don't have to be perfect. And when I say inspiration, I mean inspiration for everything. If it's drawing, applique, even embroidery. So they can be handmade with cardboard, or they can just be these simple plastic ones for your convenience. It's up to you. I'm not great at doing by hand, so I tend to use these a little more than my homemade ones. Even my homemade ones, they're a pretty strict design. So yeah. And then you have your acrylic templates, something that you're going to use over and over and over again very frequently. So for a hexagon, I went ahead and I did buy a hexagon template. I don't want to do the math every time to figure out the size of the hexagon. So I've just gone and I've bought that. It's given me a few different sizes. It's easier to scale up and down from these sizes. Well, that's a good one. Here is another really sweet one. I use this one all the time with my scraps. They make fabulous placemats or table runners for somebody. It's a quick sew, so you're cutting multiple layers at a time. So this is something you want to be a little more durable. You don't want to be cutting with a plastic with a rotary cutter. I should mention that. Yeah, these, I use the rotary cutter. These, no, I just simple tracing with a pencil. Would not necessarily use a rotary cutter with this one. You can, if you use a ruler and you just place it on top and you want to cut multiples, go ahead and do it that way. That way works rather well. But generally, when you're cutting multiples, you want to use something like this. So I've got it in a few different styles, and I go ahead and use it like that. And that is pretty much it for templates. So hope you liked the video. If you have any comments or ideas or something you didn't quite understand or I didn't explain all that great, just leave a comment below and I will get back to you.